What's up, everybody? My name's Tyler. You're watching Mom's Basement MMA. My next guest is the Combat Night welterweight champion, and he joins me next ahead of his title defense on February 9th. JP St. Louis is on the program today. JP, welcome to the program, sir, and Happy New Year.
Oh, what's up? Happy New Year to you too.
I am excited to have you back on the program. Been about 10 months since your last bout. Of course, that was against Daniel Morrison. Now that the dust has settled on that fight, JP, what do you remember about that contest, and how satisfied were you with your performance?
It was pretty fun. First title fight as a pro since first title fight as a pro, and then my first title fight since like I don't know years from being an amateur. So it was nice. I had a game opponent. He didn't have as many fights, but he was game and he's a solid fighter himself with a lot of confidence. So it was nice and fun to take him out of there the way that I did.
Well, congratulations to you. You got him out of there by submission in the first round. And as a fighter, when I talk to you guys are wired differently than most people, right? Because it's like a really like hardcore, insane sport, and you have to stay humble, and you always have to start thinking about what are the things that you can do to improve, and what can I do to get to the next level. And that's all fine and well. I understand that, but you've been a professional fighter for a decade, and you've accomplished a lot in the sport. You've won multiple titles now. You've done a lot more than like what most people do. Almost 20 pro fights now. Like, when you go back and like reflect on your entire career, like, did this all turn out like how you thought it would?
Um, Mixture of yes and no. And before I go in, just to say it was a second round
Oh,
for
second round.
yeah,
Oh,
second
for
round.
Morris Sound. Got it.
Yeah. But
Apologies to Daniel Morrison if you're watching, Daniel.
but in a sense that I always expected myself to do, you know, great things and win more. That was always my mindset. Um, so it's gone expected in that way where it's like I win majority of the time. I've always wanted to be a violent fighter and imposing my will on people, and I've definitely done that, and I feel like I've consistently lived up to my nickname. And even when I've had times where I fell down and stumbled, I came right back out of it and showed that it's like it was just a little trip. I learned from my mistakes and I'm ready to just keep it going. So everything that I've done so far that I always expected it. And I remember someone asked me, it's like, "Hey, did you it's like, what does it feel like winning the combat night belt?" And I was like, "It feels great, but in my opinion, I was going to win a belt in whatever organization I fought a few times in. It's like if it wasn't combat night, to me, I was like, I would have been an LFA champ. If it wasn't LFA, would have been a CFFC champ or a Fury fighting championship champ, whatever it was. And I'd been trying to get fights in other places, different organizations as well. So I was just like, I'm gonna be a champ somewhere, and I'm gonna get called up, or I'm gonna defend that belt and show that it's like these guys can't hang with me. I'm just like too much for them to handle. So yeah, things have gone expected, but then also I thought that maybe I could have gotten signed by now, but I haven't. But everything plays out a certain way for a reason.
JP, you're on a multi-bout winning streak. You become a champion in 2024. You fought one time last year, and knowing you, that probably wasn't the plan. I'm sure there are other things that happened behind the scenes. Can you talk a little bit about just as far as 2024 was concerned? Was the plan to be a little bit more active, or were there other factors that just made it impossible to get another fight after the Morrison contest?
It's definitely the latter. Plans were to be active. It's just hard for me to get fights. That
Mm-hmm.
like Steve will say that I am one of the hardest guys for him to get booked. And it's even combat night. They're like, it is hard for you to like get for us to get people to match up with you. And even
Mm-hmm.
other organizations because we have looked and tried to get fights elsewhere. And the matchmakers is like, oh, like nobody's really biting on this one. So it's just been difficult and I was trying to fight shortly after. And it sucked, but I used that time to just get better. And after the fight, I started working with a mental performance coach. And even I know a lot of guys that they usually will get one after a loss or they're having a tough time. For me, I was like, I want a 4-fight win streak. I just want a professional championship. I think it's time that I need to be a little bit more like invested, and
Mhm.
I want to keep this streak going. Like 4, cool. Let's make it 5. Let's make it 6, up to like 10, and let me try to up my level in another way. I've always done the physical aspects, but let me get my mental game up there as well.
And I wanted to kind of ask you about that because we see a lot more athletes going down that pathway. Like I hear a lot more of athletes talking about getting like with like a mental health professional, performance coach, etc. Without getting like too much into the weeds or too detailed. Like, are there just some like broader themes that you've been able to carry out of that where you feel like a lot more indestructible, for lack of better terms? Like, is there like a big theme or a big lesson that you learned from your time with a mental health professional?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've learned quite a bit, and it's some of it is enforcing certain things that I was doing before, or making sure that, like with all people, we're on like highs and lows sometimes. And it's kind of trying to ride that wave, when you're on that low, it's like ride that wave, don't let it get to you too hard, and you can start practicing some of the things that you've worked on, telling yourself, like keeping yourself positive, don't beat yourself up, which is a very common thing I feel like for professionals. When you want to be great, it's also really easy to be hard on yourself, and it's like, oh, that wasn't good enough. I didn't do this well enough, and I need to go harder. And sometimes it's like analyzing what you're doing and modify the approach. And with expert mindset coaching and the coach Eric, is just being it's like, what do you want to do? And like certain things, if I have like a goal, what do you want to do and how do you plan on accomplishing that? Putting a system in place that's like how many times you're going to practice this, how many days you're going to do it, and seeing how much work you put in like singular task, and making sure you're efficient about it, because it's easy to just go to the gym and say, "Oh, I want to have a better jab." But then you just like do nothing about it, You might get a better jab because you're saying it's like, "Oh, I want to do this a whole bunch of times," but it's not like, "Okay, I'm going to jab only for like the first 3 rounds. I'm going to throw 100 jabs on the bag after practice." So, there's and that's just like small tip of the iceberg. Just the tip of the iceberg with it. It's not even everything that goes on, but it's definitely been beneficial to my mental game.
As far as your in cage performance is concerned, for somebody who has never seen you fight before, if I were to describe your skills to somebody, I would say this guy can do a little bit of everything, but his grappling is off the charts. Like this guy, if he finds your neck, he's going to collect it and he's going to get you out of there really quickly. He's got an amazing guillotine. That's like a sub that you've nailed repeatedly throughout your career. And that's like the biggest thing that I see about you is like this guy is a great grappler. And when you look at like all the other competition on the regional scene, you must like be like supremely confident that whoever it is that you're fighting, like they are not going to best you when it comes to the grappling. Like I know you as a mixed martial artist, you pride yourself in all the disciplines, but that to me is where I think you really shine the most. And can you tell me a little bit for somebody with your grappling accolades, it just seems like you keep getting better with the grappling, and I'm not quite sure what it is about that. But can you talk a little bit about just kind of your evolution and your growth as a grappler over the past couple years?
Yeah, I I don't know, like the guillotine even as a amateur, I was guillotining people, and I feel like my grappling before I got to Rufus Sport was like it wasn't great. I just had a good like bite on certain chokes. But then working with Gerald Mearshart, which one of the best submission artists in MMA history. He helped me a lot with just like different mindset attacks, being relentless, and having trust in like your finishing abilities. And as you can like as you see, he's a great finisher himself. And sometimes it can be like dangerous to trust in that finish, that submission, whatever, because you might put yourself in a bad position. But this whole game is very risky. But then I got with Julian Williams down at Fusion Excel, and he's a phenomenal grappler himself. You know, as a pro, he was I think 12-1, something like that, and been in his system for the past 4 years, just further improving my understanding of the grappling game and I had to go back and kind of get better at some of the basics of grappling and fundamentals with it. And he's just a stickler on technique when it comes to being on the ground. So that's improved my grappling even more, and wrestling, being able to mix that in, because before I was kind of like someone would shoot on me and then I would like submit them. But then it started turning into it's like I'm taking people down, beating them up on the feet, then I take them down and submit them. And I've just been improving on that like each fight, and I'm finally getting like more experience because my like all my fights since 2021 have all gone past the first round just about, maybe except for one. And I'm finally getting a lot of experience. So now I feel like it's even worse for people because now it's a talented fighter who has cage time and a finisher mindset.
Well, you have another opportunity on your hands. You'll be making your first title defense. Your opponent, his name is Josenaldo Silva. He's a guy that's been around the sport of MMA for a very, very long time. When his name was, kind of offered to you, or the promoter talks to you, says, "JP, this is what we got for you." What were just kind of your initial thoughts about this matchup versus Silva? What do you think about your opponent?
Initial thoughts was like, damn, uh, yeah, shit ton of fights. What the fuck? And you know, I think a lot of fighters hate to admit certain things. It's like sometimes you can get a little like anxious where it's like, oh shit.
Mhm.
It's like, damn, that's a lot of fights. That's way more than I have. This guy has been around. And then I had that thought, and then it quickly went to, he didn't fucking fight me. It's like all those people he fought, it's like none of them, their name is Jean Pierre St. Louis. So that has nothing to do with me. Fighting me is a different beast. And I've trained with high level guys. One of my former main training partners is now UFC champion at Bilal Muhammad. I've been around champions. I've trained with extremely high level guys, and all those guys believe in me and all that. And it's just like, cool. Now I'm gonna get to fight someone who with that many fights, and when I win, continue to prove why it's like I'm just above a lot of these guys.
Like you, your opponent, he has a reputation for finding finishes. This is a guy historically throughout his career. You do the old Tapology scrub on him, a ton of knockouts to his name. Are you expecting a guy who's going to walk into that cage and just come at you really aggressively and try to take your head off? Like, are you expecting him to be like ultra aggressive with you?
Yeah, I'm expecting that, at least maybe not right off the. It's either going to be right off the rip, or if I don't jump on him first, he's going to try to jump on me,
Hmm.
because I'm expecting to have a little bit more size on him. And one of the things is like I also hit hard too. I hit hard, I'm fast. So you can't come in there too sloppy because you'll run right into something. But I do see him trying to, get an early jump, maybe put me on the fence and try to get me out of there quick. But I'm a hard guy to get out of there. And, there's been a lot of guys, it's like first round they come out killing or trying to kill me. And it's like that doesn't matter to me, because I'm gonna stay calm about it, and I'm gonna fuck you up too. In the mix, it's like land an elbow, hard punch, and all of a sudden you were pressing me back for just a second, and now I got you going back, and it's a calm, methodical. pressure. It's like I may not be wild, but when people are standing there looking at me and it's like in my eyes aren't changing and I'm throwing punches right back at them, they're like, oh shit, I don't really know if I feel like dealing with this anymore.
Well, February 8th is right around the corner. I'm sure you're really stoked, not only to make your first title defense against a guy that's been around the block for a while, but for you, it's just an opportunity to demonstrate to the UFC and other major promotions kind of who you are and what it is that you're all about. So if there was like a Sean Shelby, for example, or somebody from the UFC that was tuning in to watch this fight on February 8th, what can they expect to see when they watch JP St. Louis take the cage?
Really, they can just expect to see someone who's extremely confident do their thing, and it's going to be another victim. And if they were in the crowd, I'd look at them and be like, look what you did. This didn't have to happen, but because I wasn't signed, I have to take someone else out that's on the regional circuit. And with all, like, no matter what, this guy has a shit ton of fights, and not many people would take a fight like that. And it just goes to show how confident I am in my abilities, how confident my team is. And a confident killer is always a scary thing. And you get me signed, people are gonna rock with that mindset, attitude, and they're gonna like my fighting style.
Well, JP, before I let you go, there are a couple non MMA related questions I wanted to ask you. I know that you've been putting out a ton of content lately on Instagram. I've been watching your reels. You are interested in cooking and you're interested in anime. Those are things that I really don't know anything about. So I wanted to ask you, right? First off, the most important question. I could barely boil a pot of water, right? So if I wanted to impress my wife with a JP St. Louis approved meal, where are we going with this?
You like pasta?
I do, yes.
All right, a good pasta, and it's like we can keep it healthy. Is you get some chicken thighs. If you can, keep the skin on, but if not, you can take the bone out pretty easy, and go ahead and cook that skin side down. Get it nice and crispy. Flip it over. It's about like 8 minutes on each side, something like that. And it's pretty much a chicken lemon pasta dish. And I use Greek yogurt and some Parmesan cheese. But the fun part is that you can just once you take the chicken out, it's got a nice little crispy skin. Take that off, and then you're gonna make like a pan sauce, and you're gonna, of course, you boil the pasta ahead of time, but you take some dry sherry wine, and you're gonna chop up some onions or shallots, throw it in there, dry sherry wine, and mix it up. You're gonna take all the drippings out, and then you can add like some chicken broth into there, whip it up. And one thing that I do is a little bit of cornstarch sometimes just to thicken it just a little bit. Add that in, the Parmesan, and then you throw your pasta in, Greek yogurt, and just mix it up. Keep it on low.
Keep it on low.
Keep
That's
keep the
important.
heat on low. When you're putting in like Parmesan and stuff, you want to make sure that the heat is low. Or you can throw your pasta in with the broth and then the Greek yogurt and then the Parmesan. But it's really simple, and then you just squeeze some lemon juice in there.
So what's the plan with are we gonna like roll out a cookbook soon, like an ebook or something? What do you got going on with all that?
Honestly, I don't know because cooking is a thing that I've always loved to do. And in terms of content, it is fun to post like cooking videos, like the anime cooking videos and all that. But then also as a fighter, it's like I can't. You have to be um, pretty,
Pretty dialed in. Yeah, I
yeah,
got it.
dialed in and mature with what you're making and cooking all the time. So I feel like eventually, I don't know. I think that's the thing. It's like sometimes I do so many different things. It's like I make comedy stuff. I make like just singular comedy things that has nothing to do with MMA comedy, anime stuff, cooking. That it's like I don't know. There's a whole bunch of places I could take it. And I think I'm just doing the entertainment aspect right now.
So I have a confession to make to you. I have never watched anime at all in my entire life. Never, not one time. So, in your opinion, if I want to dip my toe into this world of anime, like where should I start?
Good question. So let me ask you, what genre do you like?
As far as what? I've never
Just
watched anime in my
just
entire
TV
life.
in general. Do you
Oh,
like
I like
comedy,
um I
thrillers?
like I like thrillers. I like seeing a little bit of violence. I like seeing I like being scared a little bit sometimes too. So I like the darker stuff for sure.
And are you good with slow burns, like something that takes a
For sure.
while?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm down with that.
Okay, a slow burn anime called Monster. It's got about like 70 episodes. It's not one of the like ones that people talk about all the time, but long story short, there's a famous like surgeon. There's a He's faced with making giving a performing a surgery on a super high profile client or someone that doesn't really matter, and he chooses the option that ends up kind of ruining his life. And it goes into like a cat and mouse and this really it's like it's a dark thriller, really. And it's set in like Germany or something like that. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's a good, I guess I forget what like the definition of the genre is, but a psycho something thriller. But that's a really good one. I loved
Psychological
it.
thriller is
Psychological
yeah,
thriller, yeah.
that's so Monster. That's the recommendation for me.
That's one recommendation. That's a longer one. And then there's a show called Erased, and it deals with like a kid trying to go back in time to save like his friend who got murdered. Erased is a good one. Psychopaths, which I kind of put as the anime version of Minority Report, but it's based on like cops that their gun can analyze like who's a threat, and it won't shoot someone who like is an innocent person, but they face somebody who is a killer, is bad, but for some reason they can't shoot him. And he's just like that guy is like a psychopath, super high IQ. And so yeah, psychopaths, monster, and erased, and then Death Note. Death Note is a good one as well.
All right, so we
So
got
those are
some.
four different ones you can choose from. Psychopaths and Erased are a little shorter. Death Note is about like I don't know, maybe max 40 episodes, but I think it's 26. I don't remember.
We got some homework to do then. So
Mm-hmm.
we got some cooking, and then we got some anime. So dinner and a movie, I guess. So that's what we got in store for us over in my household. JP,
Yeah.
before I let you go, straight up, who do you need to thank? Who are some sponsors or teammates? Whoever you'd like to shout out before I let you go. Let's do it.
Um, and you know what? Just real quick, I should make a video shortly on that pasta dish that I was talking about,
Let's go.
just so you have
Hell
something
yeah.
to go off of. And in terms of shout outs, my sponsor, Athlete Recovery Room, that's always one I want to shout out. That's where I go for my cryo and my Normatec compressions. And then giving a shout out to, of course, Fusion Excel, everybody over there helping me out. Um, then, always my wife, she helps me big time, just in terms of keeping me chill, getting my mind off of things, being best friend, best supporter, all of that. And shout out to myself for always staying confident and doing this shit. I think it's always important to be a fan of yourself. So go ahead and give myself a shout out.
Hey, why not? You're the champ. You can do whatever you want. JP, appreciate you being on the program, sir. I look forward to having you back very soon.
All right. Appreciate it. Look forward to it.